It's now time for another thought-provoking discussion on Next Frontier, how AI and robotics are transforming HR and promoting its ethical usage. A very interesting and crucial topic indeed. And joining us today for this discussion, we have with us Pradyumna Pandey, HR Advisor and Executive Hero Motocorp. Please welcome him with a round of applause, everyone. Gaurav Chopra, VP HR Transformation and Operations, Paytm. Deepak Kapur, Head HR, AVL India. And Annahat Singh, CHRO, Aviva India. To moderate the session, I invite Rajneesh sir on the stage.
Thank you. So all the panelists are seated, and this is a topic, the underlying theme of the session has been technology, basically technology adoption within HR as a segment, as a fraternity, and how that is being leveraged for the, I can say, optimization of productivity in the organization. So this panel takes that forward, and to a large extent, as we are talking about sort of the next gen technologies, AI, robotics, chatbots, and how they are influencing the HR setup in an organization. So what I would like to start, I'll come to each panelist. And first, let's start a little bit on the basics. In terms of we talk a lot about AI, but AI in HR, how is it happening? And if each of you can illustrate with a use case probably, that will perhaps be more relatable, the audience can relate that better. So I will start with, maybe let's start in order only. I'll start with Pradyumna. Basically, my question is, one, what is the role of AI in HR? And if you can illustrate with some real-world use cases. And how do you think that is proving beneficial? Specifically, what are the areas where it's proving beneficial for the organization?
Yeah, so good afternoon, everyone. My name is Deepak Kapur. So firstly, we need to understand, as he really said, what AI is. So anything which can be repeated, which can be, which is proven, or where the vast data is available, it kind of sifts the data and bring it out very, very meaningfully. Earlier, this was used to be done by the analyst and other people. Now, these AI technologies are able to do it by themselves. Now, a use case could be that you have a large number of CVs. Let's say if there is a recruitment which is happening, and there are a large number of CVs. In India, you get at least 300, 400 applications for, one position. So if you have the job description and there are keywords in it, then what happens is that this AI model can actually, find the best fit. Okay, and yeah, so this is like one of the biggest use cases. Now, if you go deeper in it, there are now AI models available which can actually do the interviews, because there will be standard set of questions. Let's say 80% of the questions would be around the typical skills. So all those skills can also be sifted out by using the AI technologies and things like that. So yeah, so this is something which I can talk about while you're talking about AI.
Great. Thanks. Gaurav, the same question, and specifically, if I may add to that, even an earlier HR recruitment policy, and I'm talking about last 8-10 years, even without AI, has been more in terms of determining insights about the applicant, leveraging social media and the likes, and because that's becoming critical. It's not just the one or two skill sets. Yeah, that is important, but the whole. So how far has AI helped, or accelerated that process, and what are the beneficial use cases that you can highlight about AI in HR?
Certainly, thank you. Good evening, everyone. I will quickly jump into two sort of examples related to the topic. One would be from a point of view of, say, the cohortizing the population that we're hiring in a general manner. So there are largely two kinds of population that typically we have within the firm, and it's one which is feet on street kind of population. And then there is the regular employees, who are on like a white-collar setup. In these two set of populations, I think there is one core difference that we sort of tweak when it comes to the recruitment process. One which doesn't really come in very handy sometimes in many firms is the fraud detection piece. So when you mentioned about scanning through social media profiles, etc. There will be multiple use cases for the cohort that we're talking about. For example, if you're talking about people who are going to be joining in as feet on street sales employees, the first and the most paramount thing for us is to be compliant first. And for that, we need to ensure that this population is not dually employed. And it's not dually employed, not just in a regular format, but also in the format of, let's just say, not under the garb of a gig work, or in the form of they have not been a fraudulent employee who's coming back again, or coming back into different kinds of recruitment. So multiple use cases. So we excessively use AI and various models from a recruitment standpoint in deduping or deduplication checks, fraud prevention, and also scanning the UAN databases using API and AI overlays to ensure that this population is not necessarily coming in as dual applicants, multiple applicants, fraud, etc. The second cohort is slightly different. Like if I were to be recruited in a company, they would want to understand, depending on the level you're hiring at, the mental model of the individual you're hiring versus what has been spoken about the person by the consultant or in the resume. And that typically comes in with your point of views, your opinions, if there is any posts that you've done, etc. So those themes and frameworks are scanned through some AI models that we employ and are employed by organizations to help us understand better qualitatively what the mental makeup of the individual is that you're planning to hire, in addition to other checks and interviews.
Okay.
Thank you.
So both, if I may sum it up, qualitative and quantitative analysis of the potential employee. Okay, great. I'll maybe come to elaborate it later. Now, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. I am Pradyumna Pandey. Let me introduce myself once again.
Sure.
I will take that opportunity. Normally, we into HR believe in personal branding more. So I started my journey around 31 years back. It is almost 3 decades into people management operations. So I worked with ACC Cement for around 18 years. And while you work for a long with an organization, the perception comes either he's not getting a job outside or he is so good that the organization is not allowing him to go out. The second was good for me. After serving 18 years with ACC, I moved to Mawana Sugars as head of HR. It was a sugar manufacturing company, DCM Sriram. 2014, I joined JK Tyre. So normally I introduce that I am solid with cement, sweet with sugar, rolled with JK Tyre for 6 years. And people ask me that, what next? I said, after running 6 years with JK Tyre, I got health in my kitty. I was head HR for Torrent Pharma. Then I became CHRO for Mother Dairy. Again, we have to define our journey. And people ask me, what next? I said, 32 saal kaam karne baad hero banna banta tha. So I was with Hero MotoCorp. So I left my hero journey, this is December, I think. Every actor in Bollywood, he thinks that after a successful stint, he should move to Hollywood. So my Hollywood starts now. I am a freelancer HR professional, giving my time for an educational institute which I have created, and many more things which is on my plate. Now, giving this introduction was with a purpose. I am from a manufacturing background. For 31 years, I have worked into manufacturing sector, and when you talk to manufacturing people, they will be a bit with a fear they will take technology. It's not something which goes very easy with us. But still, the present time, we also feel, even in manufacturing sector, that technology, this AI, is not an option, it's necessity for us also. Both my panelists, they talked about how it is helping in hiring, but my point is, like when you say, yes, AI helps me to screen this CVs for sure, it will help me to see that the match between the competence and the role requirement that AI can do. But yes, we as HR are there to identify the human behind the CV, the person behind the CV. And there I say that yes, AI is there, it is very much there into recruitment, but it should facilitate it. It should make it more efficient. I still remember when I started my career, there was a very big dilemma about being a strategic HR partner or just to continue with those transactional activities. People started talking, being a strategic HR partner. But I always believe that you can't take your eyes away from those transactional activities. It's your responsibility. You need to put your efforts. Yes, technology is there to help you to make it more transparent, make it more efficient. And think that efficiency which technology is bringing in, create the trust in the organization. And for HR, not only HR, for every organization, it is the trust of employees which makes your life easy, which makes you a strategic partner. That is what my point here is. Second, I think the way we are moving in, it's a time for personalization. It's more personalized experience of people, those who are coming into organization. The people, after when they get hired, how you connect with them, how you make sure that you create a personalized career path for them. I think there it is artificial intelligence which helps you to create that personal experience, whether it is from onboarding to exit. I think AI is there. Even when we talk about those surveys, earlier we were doing our annual surveys. Now it is daily survey we are doing. AI is helping me to capture emotions of employees daily. I am able to put my efforts on mental health of my employees. I am able to put my efforts to more engage them in the way they want to get engaged. It's not that we start creating it doesn't fit. One approach will not fit for employees. So AI is helping in those predictive analysis, giving me the data to make a decision on employees that yes, this is what is correct. And people say that yes, AI is helping to predict that who is going to leave. But my point is, as a HR manager, as a leader, is it not that you know about it? You should know about before AI tells you. So the people orientation, the people connect is the most important part for us. Yes, AI is there. AI is helping me. The automation part we talk about, employee engagement. I always say, when we talk about employee engagement, it's I think a discipline in the organization which is driven by process and systems. How you will create that discipline? It is only through that automated part, the automation of your processes. As a leader, I challenge every leader in the organization that you should be ready to think that every process can be digitized now. That is where the technology is in.
Yes.
The next generation which is coming in, they are used to technology so much that they are ordering everything on tech. Once they come in, they will ask for AI-driven environment, technology-driven environment. It's your employer brand which you are creating by putting AI into
Exactly.
picture. So thank you very much. This was my initial comment.
Okay, so first thanks for putting the manufacturing perspective, because when we are talking and even the whole day, primarily we are talking about the industries, we have talked about IT, startups, hospitality, finance and the likes, which are more tech savvy, if I may say, whereas manufacturing, the core sector, that savviness is slightly less accelerated, if I may say. And there you have given the perspective of how things are changing, and obviously also talking that however measurable matrices we put in for AI and HR for the processes, the emotional quotient in engagement still remains critical. Great, I'll come to you, Annahat, from a finance background. How is your experience, because in your business functions, AI is extensively leveraged. So from an HR perspective, how has AI been leveraged, and where do you see the use cases?
Sure. Good afternoon, everyone. I think a very interesting topic, firstly, and a topic which is very close to our hearts because we see a lot of, a lot of ways through which we can augment and leverage the benefits that we get by using the AI tools in robotics. The adoption of AI and robotics in HR function can significantly, I believe, enhance the outcomes of the function, enhance the performance of the functions, bringing out the best, and we can leverage a lot of benefits which help us in improve our efficiencies, improve our decision-making skills, improve, our response times, improve the TATs of the function. There are several use cases, I believe, where we can just go on, and it's not also specific to a certain industry, but I think across industry, it's a very diversified experience that we get because in the end of the day, I feel an HR function pretty much, the dynamics of the function will remain the same across industry. Specifically, if I talk about my industry, I come from insurance and I carry a lot of experience having worked with banking sector also. AI tools and robotics will come very handy when it comes to certain specific use cases. It is also important for an organization to first identify the core need as to why do they want to move into using the AI tools, what is the strategy, what is the philosophy of the organization, what is the area that they want to leverage the best. I personally feel that AI tools should be used to enhance the employee experience rather than replace the human intervention. A lot of times, like in our case, I agree with all my fellow panelists here and the use cases that they shared, and I think phenomenal outcomes that we receive when we adopt AI in recruitments, our selection hiring practices, many practices like Mr. Pandey also shared. At the same time, when it comes to insurance industry, performance management plays a very pivotal role. And performance, I think, is core and a basic to every professional. That's a basic hygiene that we need to maintain, and how do we get the best out of each employee. I think through AI, we get a lot of objective, lot of systematic data, which helps us in identify the strengths of each individual, helps us in identify the skill gaps and take corrective measures at the right time. So this can be, performance management no more is now an annual exercise. Through the right use of AI tools, robotics at the right place, we can even make it a real-time performance management tool. So on a daily basis, the kind of trend analysis, the kind of insights on the performance of each individual the supervisors can expect to get is phenomenal. I think that's where it gives us enormous opportunity to work upon the shortfalls that are identified in each individual, and the supervisors can actually curate a development plan with the employees in a real-time basis. That helps us go in a very long term. At the same time, I think AI tools, when used as a way to improve our efficiencies, like I see in a banking sector, there are a lot of virtual HR assistants which have been created, virtual HR assistants which help employees create an interface to resolve the basic queries of the people. It becomes a ready reference to policies, to the immediate queries that come across on a daily basis with the employees. But when it comes to having a much more deeper and a meaningful conversation, I think that's where the human intervention can never be replaced. And the HR team gets a lot of free time from the redundant, repetitive exercise or interventions to spend more time one-on-one, having a much more high-value interactions with the employees. So I think we have a huge scope to utilize and explore the AI tools, which every organization across industry must be evaluating.
Thank you. So basically, one, eliminating much of the repetitive functions or actions, and which reduces and which frees up time for the HR to focus more on innovation. One important thing you mentioned about the data-driven, that that importance of data in arriving at those insights. So my next question to all the panelists, and I'll start with Deepak again. When this data-driven HR data-driven, that's a very in thing and a in trend now. So my question is, basically a couple of questions, but I'll club them together. One, this data-driven HR, how far it has sort of amplified or reduced whatever the biases or other matrices which were earlier not so measurable now, how it has done. And the second more fundamental question from an employer perspective, AI, adoption of AI model vis-a-vis the traditional HR model, the cost-benefit ratio, because that's important for an organization.
Sure. So, glad you asked this question of the biases. So, I'll give an example how the bias is reduced and how the bias is amplified. So, let's say we talk about my favorite topic, recruitment again. So, let's say when I am sifting, when the AI model is actually sifting through the CVs, how the bias will be reduced is that, let's say we talk about certain skills. So, let's say somebody needs to know how to design, how to do a UI or user experience and all of that. So whatever those cases are, the AI will actually see, okay, yeah, these are the skills and it's like 100% matching. So here, what is happening is it's reducing the entire bias. It's not looking at, if it is a male, female, if the age is high, low, whatever, it's just looking at the skills. So the bias is completely reduced. Of course, you can train the model, but you have to look at this particular age, so all this is possible. But this is how the biases are reduced. So, how good the CV has been, how good the CV is aesthetically looking, probably it will take out that bias. Now let's talk about how the amplified bias happens. So for example, if the data has been fed in the system, and if he sees, if the AI knows that the most number of employees that have been hired are male or females, it will start to amplify that bias. So if all the employees, let's say 70% of the employees in a company are male, it will start to focus on male employees, or vice versa. So this is what is a classic example of amplified bias. So because it doesn't have a mind of its own, it will only look at the past data and it will start to kind of throw up the, because this is the line of best fit, right? It looks at the line of best fit by like this has been the success story. So what I'm throwing the data is another success story. Okay. Coming to now the cost reduction. Again, I can take many examples, but let's say if I got 200 CVs for one position, I have at least a couple of people who are sifting through those CVs and trying to find. AI can do that thing in 1 second, or let's say 30 seconds. So that way, there is a 2 man days cost, just reduced just by the use of technology. Another thing, like for what ma'am gave an example, that let's say there were a lot of chatbot which are there now. Everybody here is an HR professional, I guess. So how much time do we keep on answering the same repetitive question? How many leaves do we have? How can we take this leave of absence? Or how do I take this maternity leave? Or how? So all those have been answered in that, and a chatbot will through exact policy in a very concise and learnable format. So now what is happening is that, let's say if the employee again puts in, no, I'm not still clear and things like that, that's when it points to a HR professional. Think about a scenario where we have 5,000 employees or 10,000 employees in a company. So if you've reduced the first layer of queries by, let's say 50%, you have reduced at least couple or 3 or 4 employees in employee relations team or employee operations team. So that's how we are reducing the cost. And please realize that except for initial burst of technology, the technology becomes cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. DeepSeek is a classic example. You know, ChatGPT took years and DeepSeek just happened and it's like right there. Yeah. So I think those are my thoughts.
Okay. Gaurav?
I'll try and help again with a couple of use cases on where exactly the costs, etc., have been impacted, if at all. So there are there is an employee experience, or let's just say a fairly intuitive way of operating a device that we have in our daily lives. We buy a phone and then some of those apps intuitively come to us as to how we operate. So payments, for example, is one way of doing it. For example, in Paytm, the Paytm app is a classic app where you scan something, you pay, and then the job is done. It's like a 2-button transaction. So replicating that, which is a phenomenal user experience, by the way, for a merchant, for a customer, replicating an experience on similar lines for an employee could be on, say, multitude of factors. Let's just say, even if I don't have my salary slip today, can I get a breakup on the same app with the same interface that says, once I'm in the app, I can see that this is the amount of incentive I made, this is the salary that I'm getting, this is the projected salary, and so on and so forth. For that, I don't necessarily need to have a license to a HRMS. I can just do it through an app which is of this kind, and it gives me enough information on the go whenever I want, on demand, and I don't necessarily have to be hooked onto a system to get that information. One, that saves a lot of a license cost for us. It will save a lot of employee management on some of these aspects for us a lot. When I say us, I mean it can be applied anywhere. The third thing is the hyper-personalization that comes as a result of it with an enhanced user experience, which you're used to in a day-to-day, comes in with the user, and it can be tweaked basis what the person wants. The other element, which is slightly different from this, is on query resolution, etc. I mean, we are aware that, as Annahat mentioned, that there are bots which help you with repetitive queries to be answered. But when we take it to the next level, how we can take it to the next level is that if you ask a question and the response that you get is a robotic response, that is a start of the problem solutioning. However, taking it to the next level would mean that the response to you is, one, accurate. Second, it is relevant to the question asked, and it is not necessarily gyan or broad-based for you to figure out the right string. Okay. The third, does it address your concern? Did it solve your problem? And the fourth would be empathy. Is it personalized to you, and is it empathetic when it's responding? So the next level is, which we have sort of toying in, reasonably implemented well, is to coach the platform or the engine via a supervised learning to be empathetic to a response and not necessarily be very transactional and very robotic in that respect. So these are the two sort of use cases I could sort of present at least now.
Okay, so great. So one, regarding the costs, you said there is a cost for manual intervention and that can be sort of bypassed. And two, the very important aspect you touched upon was hyper-personalization and its efficacy is there. Yes, sir.
I think rightly said by Deepak, the data on which your AI model is being created, they can enhance the biases if the data is biased itself. So most important for everyone, all organization, is that how you should do a regular audit of your AI models. That becomes important because otherwise it will be more biased than you will do. Second, regarding costs, I will say that yes, if it brings efficiency in the processes, definitely you are going to save. I know that initial investment for AI and AI-driven tools, all those processes is a big number. But organization should be very careful in selecting what to implement, what not to implement, because it's not that padosi ne ye kar diya to mujhe bhi ye karna hai. That becomes important. Is it useful for you? If my hiring is only 10 people in the month, why I should use chatbots and AI to segregate those things? The people, those hiring in thousands, 500 people in a month or in a year, they need all those support. So we should be very careful where, like for manufacturing, again I say AI helps me in manufacturing too. When we talk about manufacturing 5.0, that the entire predictive maintenance is based on your AI inputs, the data which we are collecting from the way the manufacturing plants are being run. Even on HR front, the cost of wrong hire is immense. And that is where AI helps you to see that the right person is at right place. So this is my point.
Okay, great. So, in fact, the cost-benefit ratio will also depend on the dynamics of that vertical itself. Great. Annahat, your point of view.
So I think when we are adopting the AI tools or platforms, the first thing that we expect from it is that how is it going to increase the efficiency of any process? So when we say efficiency of a process, and we're talking about, let's say, whether it is a hiring process or it is a process of performance management, onboarding process, any kind of an employee experience, whether it is about, transcripting our employee surveys. So as when we're looking at bringing out efficiencies, needless to say that an unbiased approach there is a must, because a biased approach is not going to give you the desired, I should not say desired, but a biased approach is not going to give you the beneficial results. So if you want to use a completely unbiased outcome and the real benefit of AI tool, because AI doesn't know how to bring in the subjective biases, that possibly may come through an human intervention or a human subjectivity. Like everyone here has also mentioned, it's very important that how are we also trying to leverage the AI tools? Because AI tool is going to be driven by the algorithms that you're setting into the system. If your algorithms that you're setting into the system is making it more prone and subject to bringing in more biases, consciously or unconsciously. Sometimes we don't do it consciously, sometimes we ourselves are not taking it seriously. But the algorithm that we are setting to get the desired outcome is going to set the tone of the success of the implementation of the platform. So it's very important that we make it more and more objective, anonymous. When I say anonymous, as in, there are certain criteria like gender, demographics, etc., etc. If it is not even fed, the AI will not know how to, churn out. So, but when you're dealing with, when it comes to hiring, there are 500 CVs, AI algorithms will, help us parse the CVs in a split second, in a matter of seconds. So you have it screened CVs in front of you, which are the closest fit to the requirements. At the same time, like I mentioned earlier, it's very important to have a close human oversight. It has to be a fine balance between technology and human interventions. The minute you lose an oversight, or the algorithms are not well defined, or there is no monitoring mechanism or audit mechanism, we are all bound to lose sight or the benefits that we may derive from the AI intervention. So I think a fine balance between where we need a human oversight and an intervention and how best to use AI tool is when you get the best of the both worlds. At the same time, technology, coming to your second part of the question, technology will never, most of the time, will not come easy on the pocket. It is a certain cost, and it is a certain decision to be taken by the organizations. But to be able to derive a proper CBI, I think it's important that we also understand what is the focus of the organization? What is our goal? What are we trying to derive out of this, change or transformation? Now, if it is about building a better employee experience, if it is about, like, sir mentioned that one, wrong hire can cost you heavily. So there is certain indirect cost, direct cost associated with it, certain notional cost also associated with it. So I think if you have a very clear goal identified, what you want to achieve, the immediate cost may look significantly high, but a project plan has to be charted out for a couple of years to be able to see the tangible benefits that you get through the implementation of these AI tools. And the tangible benefits will, I think, surely be there if there is a balanced intervention between the usage of the tools and the human intervention behind it, because it surely helps you make the better and more productive decisions.
Thanks for emphasizing two important points. One, however AI tools effective they are, you need the balance with the manual intervention, the human intervention. That balance is necessary. And vis-a-vis costs, you cannot look at direct costs. It's more a cost-benefit analysis that you need to do to see derive the exact ROI, and that can happen over a time frame only. Great.
Absolutely. Just to add on to this, like HRMS, now every organization has HRMS platforms implemented. But when you want to launch it, the cost will never be justifiable. But in the long run today, everybody has an HRMS platform and the efficiencies are there to be seen by all. So I think the potential is immense and it's up to us how we leverage it.
Okay. Okay, so the next round I'll start with you from this side. See, all these HR-driven, AI-driven HR, the tools but all of you, and I am sure most people in the hall today are coming from industries which are highly regulated. And they work across geographies, so there are multiple compliances which are relevant to a geography, but ultimately it's a connected business, so you have to comply to all of these. One is regulatory compliances. The other important aspect, which till now might have been less in India, more in developed countries, but now increasingly becoming important here, is privacy. The data privacy in terms of employees, and lastly, security, which remains a pertinent issue. So all these AI-driven HR tools, chatbots coming, for employee service platforms or for onboarding process, these are a lot of external technologies coming into the fold. Where do you ensure the balance or even the safeguarding, the security, the privacy aspect, and those conforming to those regulatory compliances?
No, absolutely. I think one of the most important aspects to be noted as we are moving into more and more advanced technology adoption, transformations. Most organizations are highly regulated. I come from an insurance sector, financial sector, which is highly regulated sector. And we are dealing with very sensitive customer information. So it makes it extremely important for every organization to be compliant on all regulatory aspects, and not just regulatory when you're handling tech transformations, you're adopting new technologies at all times. It is a must that the organizations at all times are complying the Information Security and Protection Act. And most of the organizations today, they would be in process of going through the adoption of DPDP Act. And when it comes to data, extremely important that organizations have a very well laid down and a robust information security and a cyber security framework well placed. It not only gives you the comfort, it not only gives you an assurance that your data is well protected, well stored, and you are complying on various aspects, you're protected. It also in the long run will give your customers that comfort and trust that their data is well managed by the organization. So at all times, I think as much as we handle data to bring out the best in our processes and functions, in our efficiencies, we also have to have a very judicious use of data and complying by various data protection acts at all times. How do we store data? How are we encrypting the data? How are we seeking the information from the customer, storing that information, etc., etc. I think those well laid down frameworks and policies, compliance, internal audits, and not just within the organization. Another very important aspect is, do you have data protection clauses covered in your agreements? How are your vendors, to whom we outsource certain processes, how are they handling the data? So do we have a wider agreement and understanding that even your partners are compliant on all the data protection acts? So I think it's a very sensitive and a very important aspect for every organization to be extremely sensitive and conscious about.
Okay.
I think I will just add, when we talk about data, because it's sensitive data, it's some personal information stored in the data. It's important for organization and leaders, organization at least, that they keep the transparency, that why the data is being collected. Employees should know that why it's being collected, how it will be used, how it will be stored, that information if goes to them, because if you just miss once, you will lose the trust of employees, and if you lose trust once, it's like a glass broken. So it's difficult to again come to that level where they are. That is one. Second, when we talk about a lot of data coming in, everything is based on data, organizations should avoid a culture of surveillance through that data. We should at least do not try to track individuals through this data. In fact, you should just focus on the trends which data is giving to you.
Okay, that's important. Okay. Yes, sir.
So I'll try and answer it in two parts. Since the question was around say data privacy, etc., and at the same time the theme today is also about the adoption and leveraging of technology. So it needs to be sort of largely looked at in two parts. So one, there is certainly a way on, so when it is about leveraging technology or AI per se, so there have to be then schemes or the organization promoting AI and its adoption. So when it comes to adoption, it's more on a phase where you can look at, experiment with multiple use cases, as long as it is not necessarily go to market and it doesn't worked in a controlled environment, and it doesn't it hampers you on any compliances per se. So that is one on the adoption side, which is a lot of experimenting to be done on a lot of historical empirical data. The other piece is the actual use cases which get implemented. Some of the use cases that I mentioned about some time back were some of those use cases where AI adoption was heavily triangulated, and there was a lot of governance, like you mentioned, a lot of governance and audits around it through our information security and our internal audit team, our compliances and the legal team, so that that adoption at the end of the day is not necessarily making us compliance second. It's a compliance first approach in a go-to-market or a go-to-employee strategy. PII, DPDP, information security, etc. is all contained and signed off at the same time. It is regularly monitored once it's implemented. In all of the use cases that were discussed, this has happened, and but a different lens is taken when it comes to the adoption, so that more and more of it is sort of tried out and tested in various aspects and various topics of the business or HR, so that there are more fruitful use cases that can be made sort of live. So yes, so that's one piece that we're doing here, and otherwise also, I mean, if I were to answer.
Great. Deepak.
So yeah, so one of the biggest advantages of using AI and all this is that everything is digital and everything is recorded. Okay, so I'll give you two separate things. So let's say if employee called me and I answered something random, employee had no record of what I answered, right? But when AI is actually responding, everything is recorded, because it's at the end of the day, it's technology, and that technology is getting recorded. Now, which means that you can actually audit, what has been said to the employee. Having said that, we talked about DPDP Act or GDPR and things like that. All these AI models, except for free ones, are all compliant. All right. So if we are investing, let's say, if we are investing with Copilot, or even if we are investing with the paid versions of various AI technologies, they are ensuring that these are strictly within your own servers, and the data is not getting exported out. All right. So all these technologies, because if the data leaks, it's a big thing. It's not only reputation of this company, but the company which sold this AI technology also is under radar, and it will be banned from the world.
What happens with the storage of the data once that employee leaves that particular organization?
Yes. So with the new DPDP Act, I think one of the things that is very, very important is to make the employee aware, and actually employee needs to sign these days acceptance that yes, this data will be used, and it will be used for, let's say, 10 years, 15 years down the line, till the time It is required by various, agencies like our finance agencies, or let's say Government of India, needs the tax data for last 10 years. They can always open up your files and things like that. Similarly, let's say other such agencies. So whatever is a timeline, it has to be transparently told to the employee that, hey, another example I'm giving you is one of the chatbots that is being used in our company. It clearly states that this is coming out of the policy and this is being answered by AI. So already all those caveats and transparency is very much in place. Before, so the employee knows that, yeah, they can actually copy paste, they can actually code that, yes, we received this from this particular, and it will not go out of scope. Again, I'm saying, when I'm answering to the employee to convince him or her more, I may go 2 steps ahead and it could not be tracked. But the one response that AI is giving is totally trackable, totally auditable. So frequent audits will make it more bulletproof. I think that's my 2 cents on it.
Great, thanks. One important aspect of this discussion has been all the panelists have illustrated with excellent use cases that makes it easier. So I'll just conclude and very briefly, maybe 30 seconds to each panelist. What's the future from an AI chatbot or these new technology perspective, from HR perspective? What's the future?
It's very, very exciting. In the next 5 years, the technology is going to really become very, very affordable. And like one of the person said that even if we have to do 10 recruitments, it still makes sense to use AI in future. And so it's totally cost benefit analysis. It's like pure dhanda. No, agar kuch cheez sasti hai, to you will go there, which is proven. So it's cost benefit analysis. So very, very excited about it.
Thanks. Yes.
The future is, I'm not very sure of that question. Really, I don't know how to answer that. What the future of AI could be. It's certainly very different. So, the one thing that I know what I can't or will not certainly do for myself or for my kids. Initially, I had enrolled myself for a coding course some time back. And I realized that it's going to be absolutely obsolete. I just need to sort of get into in a relatively shorter course that helps me understand code, and if there is anything that I need to fix. So moderating what AI can sort of support you with or augment specific skills is what I believe is going to be the future. It's just my guess. The second thing I feel is everything will certainly get productized. Every single thing that we are doing as part of an offering, be it HR or any aspect which is relatively qualitative, will be productized, which I think pretty sure of, because everything that we talk about, including things like business partnering, etc., is getting productized, which is basically tangible qualitative output, and also not just talking about attrition that has been, but what is it, or who do you think is at risk, and what is it that you think or forecast or foresee for this business, either on the sentiment side of thing, etc. So this is certainly getting from a lag to a lead metric-based approach, and a very product or a solution thinking approach. I think that's what AI is going to augment us with.
All tangible matrices. Yes, sir.
Maybe a overconfidence, but I can say AI can't replace me. It can't match my smile, it can't match the positivity I spread when I am at workplace, it can't match my ability to read people, their aspiration, and connecting and making them happy. So it can't replace me for sure.
True. That emotional quotient, yes.
No, I also agree with Mr. Pandey. I think I'll again say a very judicious use of technology. The potential is phenomenal. We don't know what future holds. Our previous generation would not have even imagined that we'll reach this kind of advancement, and we don't know what our next generation is going to bring. There may be things we've not even imagined, or we're not right now positioned to imagine also. So the kind of benefits that we can derive, I'm sure there are tremendous. But how do we go through that route? How do we look at leveraging the technology in the best possible manner? I think the answer largely will also lie in creating a fine balance and setting a very ethical framework. Because when our frameworks, when our foundations are not very strong, That's when things start going sometimes southward, and there is a huge reputation risk at the organization level. So create very strong foundations, have a very ethical framework laid down, be very clear on the goal as to why we are getting into tech advancement or AI tools, what is the outcome that we are expecting, and stick to it. And like Mr. Pandey said, it cannot be a replacement to human intervention. There has to be a fine balance. And I think what a smile can do, what a personal face-to-face discussion can do, there is no substitute as of right now created for it. So I think we should use it to eliminate our repetitive task, make life easier for our stakeholders, internal employees or customers, bring out the efficiencies and productivities in everyone, and enhance our people interactions, high value conversations even more, get the best of the both worlds.
And thank God that day may not come when AI or a bot will completely replace a human. Okay, great. Thanks to all the panelists.
Thank you to all the panelists for wonderful insights on how advanced technology and robotics has to be inculcated going forward, but keeping in mind the ethical frameworks. To felicitate the speakers with a token of gratitude, I would like to request Rajneesh sir. Please give a big round of applause to all the speakers here.